I'm Dale Smith for Looney Politics, and this last week there was a memorandum of understanding signed between the federal government and Mark Carney and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith about future energy development for the province. And among other things, it exempts Alberta from a whole lot of federal emissions regulations that every other part of the country still has to deal with, as well as lays out a path for a potential pipeline to the West Coast. Almost certainly to the northwest coast, which would eviscerate the existing tanker ban in the process. Now, in the process of doing this, they are telling Albertans, and it's clear in the text, that they intend to build this pipeline and for it to be declared a project of national interest, providing they can meet some conditions. Okay, but at the same time, they're telling people in BC, don't worry, there's not a pipeline. They're telling coastal First Nations, we haven't consulted you because there's no pipeline. But at the same time, they're saying that there will be a pipeline, and both of these cannot actually be true in the bigger picture. And it starts to wonder as to who they think is going to be the bigger chump here. Do they think that Alberta's going to be the chump for believing that they're going to build a pipeline because they say they are, or are they telling BC that they're idiots because they believe that they intend to build a pipeline, as they've been telling Albertans? Similar with coastal First Nations. Are they saying that that don't worry, we don't intend to build it, or having given themselves Henry VIII powers to essentially push through any project they want, are they saying, we're going to go back on our word, or we will consult and then overrule your wishes in any regard? These are the options that are on the table. Meanwhile, you have Energy Minister Tim Hodgson saying, "Oh, we never said which coast, and anything can happen," because he thinks he's being clever there. And you also have him telling members of the BC caucus that they're being nostalgic or Boy Scouts about this. But the only nostalgia I see is the nostalgia for world oil prices pre-2014, which have never recovered and will probably never recover to a higher level, meaning that all of the billions of dollars they're counting on to justify this pipeline are almost certainly never going to flow. So there's a bigger problem in all of this here. The other thing to kind of think about here is the other reason that they did this MOU is to essentially throw a bone to separatists in Alberta, but that's never going to satisfy them because it's not policy differences that they're concerned about. They've made hating Ottawa and Trudeau, people with the name Trudeau in particular, their entire personality. Nothing that Mark Carney is going to do is going to satisfy them, and certainly not dangling a pipeline in front of them. And if anything, it's going to make them even more cynical and radicalize them even further. This was a giant miscalculation on everyone's part. I think that we have a couple of former Goldman Sachs execs who are now in politics who think that they're being more clever than everyone else, and this is going to blow up in everyone's face. And it's going to be a question of just how badly it blows up when it does. For Looney Politics, I'm Dale Smith.